Service above self is not just a motto for John Williams. It's the way that he lives his life. I met John when he was a second-class petty officer and I a young lieutenant. I had dark hair back then. John, well, he had a flat top. I was immediately impressed by his bearing, by his manner, and the very leadership that he projected in everything that he did, even as a second-class petty officer. I knew that he was destined for great achievement in the Navy and in his life. He has helped me to manage this community, and I would say often, helped me in making sure that the things were done, from the administrative issues of where we were going to assign our people to making the difficult calls of who was going to deploy to Iraq and Afghanistan, leaving their families for an extremely extended period of time. Master Chief and I traveled the globe together. We met with our sailors from one coast to the next, advising them, speaking with them, and listening to them about what their concerns were and what their troubles were all about. Nobody did that better than Master Chief John Williams. I watched very closely as John established and set the bar for what it meant to be a Command Master Chief, the senior enlisted advisor in our reserve component of our community. And if you ask any sailor in our community about Master Chief Williams, they will tell you he is a great leader, an outstanding role model, and admired and respected shipmate.
So today, as I stand here giving you that speech that I've recited hundreds of times in my head, I really just want to take the opportunity to recognize some of those that have made my career possible. Today we talk about shipmates. Well, 30 years ago, as a 17-year-old senior recruit checking aboard a submarine, it wasn't so much a shipmate. Now, torpedoman's mate first class Mike Conley was a true sea daddy. Mike taught me about the Navy, about submarines, and really a lot about life. Mike's no longer with us, his life ending way too early, and it hurts me that I can't thank him personally today. Aboard the boat, at sea, underwater for 70 days at a time, it's friends that make that bearable. We shared things that families didn't even know. Guys like Bear, Gordy, Johnny, and Ski. I think there's always at least one Ski in every group. The Chief, and I don't really remember the Chief's first name. I don't know that Chiefs had first names back then. But it was really my best friend, Russell Learn, who made those long watches bearable and pass effortlessly. And even though we never did buy dirt bikes or get dolphins tattooed on our chest, I wouldn't trade those times for anything. And to the chief of the boat, or the cob, Master Chief Neely, who explained to me, as only a Master Chief can, why being a 19-year-old with a brand new E5 Pro in his sleeve was really not a valid reason to turn down being Deck Division leading petty officer. Thank you, Master Chief, for seeing something in me then that I certainly didn't see in myself. While reporting to NRD Philadelphia in 1984, I was naive for sure. You see, I knew President Reagan and Secretary Lehman were building this thing called the 600-ship Navy. But I failed to realize, though, as a recruiter, that it'd be my job to fill those ships. So it's no wonder that after 6 largely successful months as a recruiter, I jumped at the offer that my zone supervisor made to take over as the youth program's petty officer and report to that public affairs office at the NRD. He didn't tell me much about that job, but I did know that I heard no more mandatory office hours, no more goals, and no more dialing the telephone. And back then it really was dialing the telephone. So the next morning I found myself at Broad and Cherry Streets reporting to a collateral duty public affairs officer and accepting the job as the YIPO. I think even then I knew that day that I'd probably never return to serve in submarines. And youth programs was a great job, but more importantly, in that office I met the first photographer's mate and journalist in my career. It's also where I met a lifelong friend, shipmate, and mentor, Terry Cosgrave. Terry handed me my first camera. I think it was a Leica, even though I really wanted that Nikon. I really didn't know much at the time. invited me into the dark room, and truly cemented my future in the Navy. Thanks for everything, especially keeping me safe in some pretty dicey parts of the world, and also for forcing me to pick up a video camera early on, thus allowing me to travel the world in those early years. And Pat Cashy, you made me look forward to coming to drill, even if it was just to compare photography and talk about what we were up to. And I think it's truly the one time that higher tenure got it wrong. But the Navy's loss was certainly the Air National Guard's game. Thank you, Master Sergeant. And then it was leaders like Chief Warrant Officers Don Smith and Jim Boyle, who were the lifeblood of that unit. And of course, commanding officers and leaders like Captain Bill Flynn, who gave every sailor an opportunity. Thank you, Captain. Lastly, in March, I had the opportunity and honor to visit recruit training in Great Lakes, Illinois. The first time since my own graduation in August of 1980. And just so you know, it's a much better place there. But it was an incredible experience, to say the least. And one of the things I had the honor of witnessing was Battle Stations 21. That's the capstone event that recruits complete, and for the first time, take off their ball cap that has the word recruit written across the front, and swap it out for one that says Navy. And it's also the first time that they're addressed as sailor. Well, as I made my way amongst the sailors after that event, and many still had tears in their eyes, like I had tears in my eyes, I stopped a small group and I asked if they wanted to trade covers. And they kind of looked at me, didn't know what to say, until one of them finally said, "Really, Master Chief, you trade with us?" I said that I would, but only if I could live my career over again. But now it was their turn to live the adventure.